find John anywhere. He left the kids here all alone without telling me anything. I'm freaking out. Please help. Calm down, Sophia. Everything will be okay. Do you have any idea where he is? Did he go out drinking again? Did he do anything to you or your kids again? You know what? I'll come over. Just stay with your kids and we will go looking for him around the neighborhood. We'll find him. I gave my husband a kiss and rushed to Sophia's house, not knowing what was going to happen next. John found us upstairs. He was enraged and pointed his finger to me while looking to Sophia. Why her? What is she doing here? Why do you never talk to me? Well, what do you expect? Sophia replied. You've got problems, John. All you do is drink every single day. I felt extremely sorry for my best friend. I didn't know how to act. John raised his voice. You're lying, Sophia. Don't you dare tell me I have a problem. He turned his back to us and stumbled downstairs, not knowing what he was up to next. As John walked towards the living room, Sophia started shaking as she realized that her baby girl was sleeping in the living room. Please, go after him, she said to me. He is scared of you, especially of your husband. He would never touch you. Please go after him, then I'll stay with the kids upstairs. I was overwhelmed, but there was finally something I could do for her, so I agreed. I went down and ran into the living room. John, please stop this madness. This is way too risky. Don't tell me what to do, he told me. She's going with me. I heard a terrifying scream from Sophia, who rushed down the stairs with her 2 older kids running behind her. Stop this madness, John, or you'll never see your kids again. But John was not going to listen. He held the baby with one arm tightly against his chest and stumbled towards the front door. I tried to stop John, to block his path, but I couldn't. He knocked me hard onto the ground. John, stop it! Sophia yelled, but he kept going. John opened the front door and had one last glance at Sophia before walking out. But in the next moment, he slipped. John slipped with the baby strapped against his chest. The nightmare got even worse as John fell hard on top of the baby. Sophia and I screamed. What just happened? We both ran towards the baby, hoping that she was still breathing. Call 911, please, now! Sophia screamed. But then, before we could get any closer, John stopped us. His face twisted into anger as he pushed us back through the door. John, our baby, what are you doing? Sophia screamed as we hit the ground. John didn't respond, but instead closed the front door on us. Fear instantly ran throughout my body. The baby wasn't moving, and he just locked the door in front of us. The only thing we could do was call the police. So I did. As soon as the police arrived, they went straight to John, who had been watching us the entire time. They demanded him to open the door or else they would force it open. John wouldn't listen. He told them to leave him alone. Another police officer took over. John, I understand that you feel threatened, but you need to open the door now. This is your last chance. After a few seconds, the door opened and the police rushed inside. One of the officers went to John, while the other, together with Sophia and me, ran to check on the baby. She was breathing, but there was still no movement. There was no time to think. I ran towards my car, helped Sophia and her 6-month-old baby to sit safely in the back seat, and jumped behind the steering wheel. At that time, Sophia's mom showed up, bursting into tears when Sophia told her what happened. She was in total panic and had so many questions, but there was no time. We decided that Sophia's mom would stay at the house and watch over the 2 older kids while we rushed to the hospital. The ride felt like it took forever, but 12 minutes later, we had finally made it to the hospital. I followed the ER signs as quickly as I could while telling Sophia that the baby would be okay. As soon as we arrived, a nurse took Sophia's little baby into the ICU, while another nurse stayed with us and tried to calm us down. We tried not to think of the worst, but I couldn't help but feel scared. There was nothing we could do except wait and pray that Sophia's little one would be okay. I have never been so terrified. Sophia and I were holding hands tightly, both shaking and sweating. An hour later, the door opened, and a doctor walked towards us. The baby is out of danger, he told us. Based on tests and scans, we couldn't see any damage to the baby's body, just a few bruises. Our tears of fear turned into tears of relief. Thank you! Thank you! Sophia said as she hugged me firmly. Thank you so much! I'll guide you to her," the doctor said. 5 hours later, I dropped Sophia and her baby at her house. Her mom was standing in front of the door. "Where is he?" Sophia asked. "I don't know, but he left after he talked to the police officers," her mom replied. I felt relieved that they were finally safe and decided to go home and get some rest. Days went by, and Sophia and I spoke less and less. At some point, stopped speaking completely. I didn't understand. I felt like my calls and messages didn't reach her at all. I tried calling her on Mother's Day, around 2 weeks later, but Sophia never responded. We were friends for so many years, we even had babies at the same time, and we had so many trips planned. It hurt so much losing her as a friend. I couldn't understand why she decided to break up our friendship. After all we went through? A few weeks later, I received a call from the CPS. An investigation was pulled against John because of his behavior that evening. They asked me to tell the full story and asked me very specific questions. His daily drinking, his brutal behavior, how he brought their baby in danger. There was enough to investigate. Of course, I was involved. I was the main witness that evening. But let me be clear. We called the police because the situation was getting out of hand that night, but none of us ever sued him. I tried to call Sophia again and again. I wanted to talk to her, to find out if she was okay. What did they ask her? I had so many questions. John and Sophia found out about this investigation. They knew I told the full story to the investigation officer. John was furious. Of course he was. There was evidence for his aggressive behavior. In return, he isolated Sophia from me, blocked me on all of Sophia's social media accounts. I felt completely used and upset. She was supposed to be my best friend. I had warned Sophia many times. I would tell her that this man would never change. But she never listened. It hurt a lot knowing that she chose him over me. And yet, I couldn't help but think about her. And that evening, what could I have done differently? Should I have just called the police instead of going there myself? Well, in the end, I don't regret any of my actions, and I did what I thought was right to help my best friend. I was only trying to protect her and her family, but that night, I lost my best friend to her husband.